concerning the parable of the rich man and Lazarus, do we really go to heaven or hell after we die, or do we stay dead until the resurrection? Isn't that interesting? We're talking about evolution, and I didn't want to answer directly to the 911. Should I answer directly to this one? I think this one applies. I'll tell you why, because the Bible says as a consequence of sin, death came into this world. Isn't that right? Death. So, evolution says that this great gift of death leads to tremendous evolutionary advance. The Bible says that the great gift of death leads to dust. Isn't that so? Okay. So death is an important thing. What does Lazarus do? Lazarus seems to turn the paradigm taught in Adventist circles upside down. Do you know that this is one of the few denominations that teach sleep in death and a resurrection? Most Christian denominations teach immortality. Isn't that right? Now consider this for a moment. If immortality is a truth, either in a physical or in an esoterical form, in other words, whether I end up as a physical entity or as Casper the ghost, I remain alive if there is a doctrine of the immortality of the soul. I go to heaven either as a ghost or I go to hell as a ghost, right? So in other words, I don't die, I stay alive. That's believing the lie of the serpent. But look at the consequences. If death is not really death, but a change of state, and to many in the esoteric world, it is an improvement. They cannot wait to get rid of this tent. Then my question is this: what was the point of Christ's death? Why would Christ come to die if I was going to live eternally anyway? So the whole of Christianity fails at that point. The whole of the atonement can be thrown into the waste paper basket if there is no death. And if death is what the Bible says it is, then there is no evolution either. Cannot be. Because the Bible says there was no death. And death is a consequence of something called sin. In the evolutionary paradigm, death is the means to something better. Those are two diametrically opposed doctrines. Choose. If you want to believe the one, then don't call yourself a Christian. And if you want to believe in a living state after death, well then you have to reject the atonement. Christ died in vain. He died to give you life. So let's look at Lazarus. In the story of Lazarus, the rich man goes to the hot place. And the one with all the sores goes to the good place. Now the Jews taught, or the Sadducees in particular, they don't believe in angels. They don't believe in the resurrection. Didn't Paul have arguments with them on that issue? Yes or no? Yes. But they did believe in the spirit world. In other words, they believe exactly like the people believe today, that when you die, you go to heaven. But they also believed in the chosen race syndrome. So that when you were rich, you were favored by God, and if you were poor, you were under the curse of God. So they had disdain for the poor. And of course, Lazarus, I like it that Jesus uses the name Lazarus. It was a good Jewish name, but he was full of sores, so obviously he was out of favor with God. He actually represents the non-Jewish world full of the consequences of sin. These people, in the mind of the Sadducees and the Pharisees for that matter, were destined for hell. And now in this parable, in this story, Jesus turns it upside down and he puts the rich favored man in the hot place and he puts this Lazarus one in the other place. And then he says, the rich one, Father Abraham. Doesn't the Bible say we should call no one father except God? And that we should pray to no one else but God. Do not bow down to them. Do not worship them, whether it is a man or an idol. So he's looking at their ancestral worship and he's turned it upside down and he is condemning it in the story. And then he says, well, please send someone back from the dead. That's what they believed. They believed in the spirit communication. Otherwise, why would Saul go and look for the witch of Endor to bring up Saul, right? They believed in that communication. And what was Jesus' answer? They have Moses and the prophets, and they would not believe them, even if someone came back from the dead. Who did he raise from the dead? Lazarus. Did they believe him? No. So that's turning their bigoted doctrine upside down. That has nothing to do with the state of the dead. Are those all the